The story starts in 1878 in the Montana Territory. Colton's name was no longer known, even though he had once been the most feared hitman alive. Because of his wife Ruth, Colton left his violent past behind. He now lived a peaceful life, taking care of a small farm, running a grocery shop, and dedicating himself to his family. His main focus was protecting his 12-year-old daughter, Brooke. One day, Colton took Brooke to school. From their talk, it was clear that she had the same cold and serious personality as her father. But when they arrived, they learned the teacher was sick, so school was canceled. Colton brought Brooke with him to help at the store that sold daily necessities. At home, Ruth was busy doing laundry when a group of men arrived. Their leader was James, and with him were 3 others, a man on horseback named Boots, a big man named Mike, and another named Eustace, who was still on his way. At first, they only asked for directions to the nearest town, but soon their tone changed, and Ruth began to feel afraid. Realizing she was in danger, Ruth ran into the warehouse to hide. In the barn, James noticed a saddle with the name Colton on it and quickly realized that the woman they were threatening was the wife of the infamous Colton. Hearing that name scared the men, but Ruth, though helpless, warned them that they had awakened a sleeping demon, her husband, and that he would come for them. James, however, wasn't scared at all. Meanwhile, at the store, Colton and Brooke finished their work and went home. When they arrived, they saw several sheriffs outside their house. One of them, a marshal, approached Colton and was shocked to learn that this was the same man once known as the Deadliest gunman. With a heavy heart, he told Colton that his wife, Ruth, had been killed. When Colton buried Ruth, his friend Frank noticed that Brooke didn't cry or seem sad. Frank told her that long before getting married, Colton had been a ruthless killer feared by everyone. Now, he admired how Colton had changed, started a family, and opened a small shop. Frank then explained that Ruth had been murdered by a gang, though he didn't mention their name. Colton clearly wanted revenge, but Frank tried to stop him, promising to catch the killers with the help of the sheriffs. Later, while grieving in the warehouse, Colton found a threatening note left by the gang. That was the final push. He decided to hunt them down. This time, he wanted his daughter to join him. Before leaving, they burned their house and warehouse to erase all painful memories of the past. That morning, Brooke felt both happy and sad. She was glad that she and her father had decided to take revenge, but it also hurt to let go of all her memories of their burned-down home. After traveling for a while, Colton decided to rest since he was tired and believed that James and his gang were already far away. Meanwhile, in another area, Frank and the sheriffs were still chasing James. Suddenly, they were ambushed. Frank fought bravely, but one by one his men were shot down. Luckily, James and his gang started to panic and ran away. James grew angry, yelling at Boots for not shooting Frank before retreating. Eustace and Mike, however, said they were more afraid of Colton, who was surely hunting them down. After resting for some time, Colton suddenly heard distant gunshots. He quickly told Brooke to get up, and they rode off again. Not long after, they saw a traveler approaching. Colton planned to take the man's horse and told Brooke to distract him by pretending to cry. Brooke wasn't very good at acting, but her fake tears worked, and their plan succeeded. Later, Frank and the few sheriffs who survived the shootout met Colton. Colton helped treat their wounds. While resting, Frank told him he hoped he wouldn't turn back into the ruthless man he once was. But Colton, still filled with rage, said he would kill everyone who stood in his way, even the sheriffs if necessary. Fearing what Colton might do, Frank revealed that the gang's leader was named James. He said James and his 3 men were heading towards Santa Rosa, a city near the Mexican border. After hearing this, Colton gathered weapons and borrowed Frank's horse before setting off. Elsewhere, James and his men reached their hideout. They found piles of money there, but it was in Mexican currency, not US dollars. The men were disappointed, but James promised that once they reached Mexico, they'd be rich. He also knew Colton would come after them, so he made plans to stay ahead. Soon, they arrived in Santa Rosa, Mexico, where they planned to rest for the night. James ordered Eustace to stand guard at the city gate in case Colton appeared. That night, Colton and Brooke camped nearby. Colton opened up about his past as a debt collector and cold-blooded killer. He said he had grown up in a harsh world where he never laughed or cried. Ruth had changed him, teaching him to be kind and to care for others. Brooke had inherited his strength. She hadn't even cried when her mother died. Now, she was determined to kill James herself. The next morning, Colton began teaching Brooke how to shoot. The shotgun was too heavy for her, so she asked to try a pistol instead. She fired and managed to hit a hat. Meanwhile, in Santa Rosa, Eustace complained to James because no one had come to replace him on guard duty, while Mike and Boots were still sleeping at the hotel. James ignored the complaints and told them to get ready, certain that Colton would find them soon. Meanwhile, Colton and Brooke finally reached the outskirts of Santa Rosa and realized that James and his gang were already there, waiting for them. Colton told Brooke to go into town first and find out where they were hiding. Following her father's orders, Brooke entered the city alone and stopped at a store to ask about the gang. But when she stepped outside, James and his men caught her. They recognized her saddle and realized she was Colton's daughter. James took her hostage and told his men to stay alert because Colton would soon come to save her. During their conversation, it was revealed that James was actually Jimmy, the son of a thief Colton had killed 20 years earlier. Ever since then, James had been planning his revenge. Now, he was determined to end Colton's life. Meanwhile, Colton, worried about Brooke, began searching for her. Mike, who was on guard duty, spotted Colton entering town, but Colton quickly overpowered and killed him. Then a gunfight broke out between Colton and Boots, which ended with Boots desperately trying to find Colton, who was hiding nearby. Hearing the gunfire, James dragged Brooke out as bait and soon found Colton hiding inside a store. When Colton saw his daughter held at gunpoint, he came out and surrendered. James confronted him, reminding him that 20 years ago, Colton had killed his father. Now it was time for revenge. A fierce shootout followed. Colton fought bravely but was shot in the chest. James celebrated, thinking he had finally avenged his father. Colton died shortly after, leaving his daughter behind. For the first time, Brooke broke down and cried over her father's death. Soon after, Frank and the surviving sheriffs arrived. At first, Frank wanted to throw away Colton's body, believing he had turned into a criminal again. But realizing that Colton's actions came from love and pain, Frank changed his mind. He buried Colton properly and told Brooke to continue her life by running the grocery store. Using the money found in James's bag, Brooke now had to live on her own and carry on her father's legacy. And so, the story ends,